Thank you very much indeed. Welcome, Vidya.
Thank you, Paul.
So we're just going to have a 20-minute conversation here. Vidya, we're going to talk about proteomics and metabolomics. But maybe before we jump into the specific questions, could you give us a little bit of background as to yourself and your involvement in that space over the years?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So I am Vidya Velagapudi, and my background is in biomarker discovery, precision medicine, and multi-omics technologies for the last 20 years. I joined M42 about 6 months back, and currently I'm leading the precision medicine and also Academy of Education and Research. Previously, I was with AstraZeneca Sweden, leading the precision medicine and companion diagnostic development, and before that in Finland for more than 15 years, leading in individualized medicine, biomarker discovery space.
Wow, that's quite an experience. Thank you for that. So maybe we can start with the most basic question. What is proteomics?
Yeah, it's always good to start with basics. Yeah, proteins are functional molecules, right, in cells, as you all know, which are involved virtually almost in all biological processes, right? They are responsible to carry out all the biological processes. Proteomics is a field of science which involves comprehensive analysis of all the proteins, including its identification, quantification, studying its structure, function, protein-protein interactions, and also post-translational modifications in a given biological process.
And how is that different from metabolomics?
Well, metabolites, on the other hand, are small molecules that are produced in biochemical reactions in a cell. And metabolomics is a comprehensive analysis of all the metabolites that are present in any biological sample, including its identification and quantification. So metabolites are involved in understanding the biochemical processes and how it influences the biological response, depending on the external stimuli. It could be like drug response, environmental exposures, or any shock, or anything. Yeah.
Great. So thank you for those definitions. I think that's a great start. Can I link it then to actually your title in terms of precision medicine, and maybe broaden that to what impact do proteomics and metabolomics have on precision medicine? Why is it relevant to the whole space of precision medicine, particularly in the UAE?
Yeah. So if you see the central dogma, the flow of information, it starts with genomics, transcriptomics, proteomics, and metabolomics. When we analyze genomics, like whole genome sequencing analysis, we can identify genetic variations. So basically, we are all born with certain genetic makeup, which we can't change. Whereas proteomics or metabolomics, it is much more dynamic and time sensitive. It changes every minute, right? Before you eat and after you eat, or before exercise, after exercise. It is quite dynamic, and it is also like, if you see this central dogma, these two are much more closer to the cellular phenotype when you compare with the genomics, which is up in the flow of information. So that is why these two act as a gate to personalized medicine, because whatever you analyze, they are representing the cellular phenotype, right? Whether you are measuring the protein expression or metabolite levels, that gives you even more accurate information. So based on this unique biochemical profiles, we can devise much more accurate targeted therapies. That is why these are much more relevant for precision medicine. And when we combine with the genomics, it is much better.
Got you. But is there an argument to say that can be too dynamic, that it can change too much? And so
yes, that is true. That is true. Because as I said, it changes every time, every minute. And if a person is quite active, like exercising 3 times a week or having very good lifestyle, suddenly for whatever reason, if they are changing their lifestyle, their biochemical profiles change, right? And then they can be more susceptible or vulnerable to diseases than
Gotcha.
Yeah, that is true.
And so what specific applications are there of this video in terms of how we might use proteomics and metabolic? Yes.
There are several applications in relevance to precision medicine. I would start with biomarker discovery, especially in predicting the disease even before it clinically appear. So that is very important in predictive medicine, so that based on your biochemical markers, we can actually predict that going to develop diabetes or whatever cancer in next 5 years, right? So the biomarker discovery is the most important aspect, when it comes to the applications. And another thing is, based on these biochemical interactions or protein expression levels, we can actually try to understand the disease etiology much more better. So we are trying to understand the disease mechanisms much more better, because it is very important when you think about drug discovery, right? We need to know what is the target, where you need to target your drug or whatever. So these proteomics or metabolomics technologies enable us to identify these in drug discovery. So they play a major role in, as I said, biomarker discovery, drug discovery, and understanding the disease, and also help in devising much more individual treatment strategies, which is unique to each person.
Very good, thank you. And are there specific, these applications that you talk about, are there examples of that actually happening in the UAE at the moment?
Yeah, definitely. So UAE, and also I will also touch base a little bit on global side also. When it comes to the UAE, as we all know that we have this flagship program called Emirati Genome Program, and we are proudly saying that we have sequenced 800,000 population already, which is the biggest population genomics in the world. And even though Emirati Genome Project is genomics-based, technology, and the main intention is to map the genetic makeup of Emirati population, we can actually enhance the impact of this project when we integrate proteomics and metabolomics insights together with the genetic predisposition. Just think about that. We already know who are genetically predisposed to certain diseases, but when we combine with the proteomics or metabolomics, we can have much more dynamic and individual patterns based on the molecular profiles, so which will enhance the impact of Emirati Genome Project. And when it comes to globally, there are many multi-omics technologies in addition to the genomics, which are, advancing the field in precision medicine. Maybe I can give a little bit example of UK Biobank, right? So where they sequenced 500,000 people. Initially, it is also a population genomics project, but now they are stepping towards proteogenomics, right? So they are analyzing the protein expression patterns in all the population genomics samples in UK Biobank, so that you can link the genetic predisposition. So you already have the information about what is the genotype and phenotype, and now you are also linking to the protein level. And another example is FinGen project, which is in Finland.
Which you were involved in directly?
Yeah, in Finland. So it is also focused on genome analysis of 500,000, similarly to UK Biobank. And I know that in FinGen project, they are analyzing the metabolomics analysis in all this population genomics project to have this kind of genome-wide association studies with the metabolite profiles, right?
And when they do these studies, Vidya, do they always start with genomics and then evolve into the other omics over time?
Yeah,
what's the time frame and how it works? So you need access to the stored sample, the plasma in that. How does it actually work to get the proteome out of a sample? Could you give us a bit of insight into that?
That is true. So initially, these biobank initiatives have started like much before, right? So at that time, the thinking or even the technology was not that mature. If we think about 5-6 years back, both proteomics and metabolomics. So at that time, the technology limitations were there. Like we could able to identify or quantify only like hundreds of features like metabolites or proteins. But now with the latest advancements in mass spectrometer or sequencing based, we can analyze thousands of these kinds of molecular profiles. So the same samples can be used if they are collected in certain way, which is suitable for proteomics and metabolomics analysis. But then I believe that this is evolved with time, so not decided when they started this population samples.
So is there an opportunity for us to evolve the program in the Emirates in the same way?
Definitely. I think so. Yeah. That's why I mentioned that we can definitely enhance the impact of Emirati Genome Project when we link to both proteomics and metabolomics analysis.
Super. And in terms of continuing innovation around that space from a technology perspective, you mentioned some of the technologies already that are involved. Is that continuing to accelerate? Are there advancements on the proteomics front that maybe we've seen over genomics in the last 15 years?
Definitely, definitely. So if you think past, like some 5 to 10 years back, proteomics and metabolomics are more of research side, because of the technical limitations. And currently they are utilizing for biomarker discovery and integrating to devise targeted treatments. And the technology is continuously evolving. Like, as I mentioned, it's now, for example, in proteomics, previously it is mainly mass spec based. Now we can also use the sequencing based so that we can analyze thousands of proteins at the same time. And these kinds of advancements are definitely improving our understanding and how we can link with other omics analysis. And it is not just the analyte identification or quantification, but also we have technological advancements in artificial intelligence and machine learning, because when you have like tons of data, you need sophisticated tools to analyze this complex omics, right? If you think about, you have genomics, proteomics, metabolomics, all coming from different platforms, and all the data are heterogeneous. So we need advanced machine learning techniques to normalize the data and standardize the data to analyze the data, right? And these information can be used to analyze complex protein and metabolic networks. And this will definitely help to have better understanding of how we can actually integrate this multi-omics analysis so that we can advance the precision medicine strategies.
Got you. And Vidya, am I right in thinking about this as still very much in the research domain, or is it starting to have an impact in the clinic already?
Definitely, yes. In the past, yes, mainly like research focused, right? Okay, we identified this protein and this is the impact. But now it is definitely playing a role in routine clinical practice. And in my experience, both proteomics and metabolomics analysis are used in clinical trials also. So basically, you could use these technologies to stratify the patients or participants who are participating in the clinical trial, and then based on their unique molecular profile, which is like biomarker, you can actually stratify and use this information for inclusion-exclusion criteria, right? That is the whole concept of precision medicine. So you are selecting a group of patients who would benefit from the particular drug, right? So that is the precision medicine, and it is also applying for companion diagnostic development, right? So we are making sure that the drug that we give are safe and efficacy compared to, one size fits all concept.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Very interesting. Thank you so much for the background on that. Can I change tack slightly and broaden this into more of a precision medicine discussion? What do you see as some of the main challenges in the implementation of precision medicine in somewhere like the UAE?
Definitely, even though we see a lot of advancements in proteomics and metabolomics and applications with integration to genomics, for example, there are some challenges. The first and foremost, I would say the need to develop a robust infrastructure that could handle this huge amount of omics and the task of integrating this heterogeneous data, right? So that is the most important thing, to have a robust infrastructure. And number two is the collaboration. So we need to have a better collaboration among clinicians, healthcare professionals, researchers, data scientists, public and private partnerships, and policymakers. So that is very important, because we all should be on the same page. Then only we can advance, at the national level when we think about national initiatives. And another thing I would say in the UAE is the adoption, right? So the mindset change. What is the public awareness, right? Mm-hmm. So it is great that, we have already almost collected close to 1 million samples, and we already sequenced 800,000 samples. But now when we move our need a little bit to proteomics and metabolomics analysis, public awareness is very important, because patients can be much more involved in their care journey if they understand the importance of their own unique molecular profiles. So why they need to participate, or why they need to donate their blood again to analyze these things. And another challenge I would say is education of the healthcare professionals or whoever is dealing this, because they need to understand how to implement or how to adopt these new technologies, which are ever growing.
Sure.
Yeah. And one of the biggest challenges is the funding, because when we think about implementing these precision medicine strategies at scale, even at the national level, resources are the biggest challenge. So we need to convince the authorities and regulatory bodies and all these people. So that's why I mentioned that this kind of collaboration and common understanding is very, very important.
And there are examples on that funding point of public-private partnerships, for example, around UK Biobank,
exactly,
where industry is contributing to the funding of proteomics because they see value in that with joint matched funding elsewhere. Is that right? Does that happen in places like FinGen too?
Yes, it is true. So that is a very good example. UK Biobank, I think there are like many tens of pharma companies who came together to sponsor or matching fund. Same thing with Finland. And I believe that should also happen in the UAE so that, we can also advance our Emirati Genome Project and generate more impact.
Demonstrating that it's a collaborative effort with different stakeholders around that same table.
Definitely.
Each seeing value from their respective perspectives. Very good. Just to revisit the patient perspective, so there are examples of patients engaging directly with proteomic and metabolomic insights here. You are seeing examples from a patient perspective where that is the case.
Definitely, because in this journey, patients would have more involvement in their own care journey because patients can become more proactive. Because when they see this kind of individual recommendations based on their unique molecular profiles, they understand how they should change, right? So they can be even more participatory. That is one of the P's in precision medicine, is it? Participatory. One example I can give you that, this kind of digital platforms enable patients to analyze their, molecular profiles in real time. The best example is continuous glucose monitoring, right? So using these wearable devices, they can continuously track their glucose levels. And when they see a spike in glucose, so they can take preventive measures, right? They can become like proactive that, okay, maybe I shouldn't take carb-rich food anymore because my glucose is already high. So this kind of involvement will make them participate in their care journey more, and it will also enhance a deeper partnership with the healthcare provider, right? When they own the journey, then it is much more easier to understand why we are measuring these many analytes or biomarkers and how it influences their lifestyle.
Very good, very good. So Vidya, you've given us a really good perspective on where things have been and brought us up to date in terms of where things are at today, not just within the UAE, but internationally too. Where do you see things going in the future?
In future, the precision medicine, if I had to say how it is happening or what should happen in UAE, is that UAE is trying to shift or build the healthcare ecosystem from not only from the reactive perspective but proactive perspective, so that it emphasizes much more on predictive and preventive medicine than just the reactive, right? And the vision here is to utilize these kind of advanced technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning technologies to identify early biomarkers to predict the diseases and how they can involve patients in the care journey. And also this digital transformation, because if you see the national UAE strategy, it fits very well with the innovation in the healthcare. So that is where it is playing major role, but especially for UAE, it is much more relevant because based on this information, it can focus on what are the environmental influences and what are the genetic predisposition in their own population, because previously it was not possible. Now we can see what is the genetic predisposition, and when we can also see the proteomics and metabolite profiles and how it is directly impacting their own population. So this will enable UAE to stand or be a leader in the region, especially when it comes to the personalized healthcare.
Superb. Well, maybe one final question as we bring this session to a close. What can we do to help accelerate this journey that you've laid out before us? Is there a role for us in the audience?
Definitely. I would start with collaboration is the key, right? So we all need to come together, join our forces. As I mentioned, researchers, clinicians, healthcare professionals, policymakers, public, private, pharma companies, we all should form like a consortium to take this forward. And then second one is public awareness. As I mentioned, it is important to educate our people why they need to be more participatory. And another thing is clinical education for our healthcare professionals to adopt all these latest technologies and how to utilize, for example, real-world evidence or real-world data, and how they can implement these novel technologies and data into their routine clinical practice. And also the involvement of government, right? So if they are with us, then they also understand or incorporate into the national strategies, like how we can initiate or implement at the national level so that they can be the leaders. So I would say that, by fostering innovation and by culturing interdisciplinary teams, and also enhancing the partnerships, public-private partnerships, we can definitely make sure that UAE can be a leader in the region, especially in the precision medicine, and also set as an example at the global level, not just UAE or MENA region.
Well, thank you, Vidya, for a whirlwind tour of proteomics, metabolomics in the context of a global health system, but specifically addressing some of the opportunities and challenges in the UAE. Could you please put your hand together for a very enlightening 20-minute discussion from our side? Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you all.
Thank you.